Welcome to Mystic Detectives Podcast, where we seek to unlock the wonders of the unknown. I am your host, Crystal Miller, and today we have a very special guest host.
Hello, I'm Topher. I'm your guest host.
How are you doing, Topher?
Just been enjoying the Sunday afternoon.
Good. So you were talking a little bit about editing the video episodes. How's that going?
It's a lot of work. Like every time you turn around, some type of equipment failure forces you to have to look at how you're gonna present whatever we're talking about.
Mhm.
Even when we filmed Joseph, so we had one of the lenses
Oh, wow.
cracked, and yeah, I'm all like, how did that happen? Yeah, one of our other cameras that we had cracked, and then yeah, it was an interesting
Oh,
adventure.
wow.
And that's what's taken me so long, is I'm trying to find a really good story without those angles.
Yeah. Speaking of Joseph, he is our guest today. Joseph, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name's Joseph Cancilla. I my own entertainment business, and we're expanding quite a bit right now into multiple states, and our reach is growing and growing. But yeah, we specialize in everything from circus style entertainment to luau's and a lot of custom productions, a lot of custom requests that we kind of design, make up from scratch, and release out into the world, and people seem to be loving it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Okay. I think that the specific thing that we wanted to talk with you about today is firewalking. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's something that I've been doing for kind of over the years, and that my relationship with fire in general, I think, has really allowed me to step into facilitating that with other people that want to have a similar experience.
Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with fire. What is that relationship?
Well, it's been a long time. I've been performing with fire, not necessarily walking on it, but performing with it for about 26 years.
Wow.
And that's most of my life. It was a cultural thing when I got started, when I was 12 years old. And when I was 3 years old, I started Polynesian dancing. That's kind of what led into, I guess, this expectation of me when I was a lot younger, that I would step into that part of our culture to be able to provide the Samoan fire knife dance for the shows that we were doing as a family. Um, then I got out of it and got into marketing real heavy, and then came right back around to it again. It's just not something that I could stay away from for very long. Um, and now that it's back in my life, it kind of exploded into something that's a lot bigger than I would have ever expected.
That's really cool. That's you're officially the youngest fire dancer or fire player, I don't know, performer that I've ever met. I mean, Topher may have met younger from the look on his face, but I've not met anybody younger than 12.
Technically, I did it without fire.
Okay,
We're on
well,
video right now. I know this is a podcast, but we're on video looking at each other. But this is what I used when I was a little kid. And
wow.
it's what I
That's
learned on, and
that's the Polynesian knife, isn't it?
yeah, it's the Samoan fire knife.
Is it sharp?
No, it's a dull blade, but it's still kind of sharp on the edges, and
Wow.
that hook, the hook right there, that's pretty deadly. I don't have all the best stories with that hook.
So, how did you go from Polynesian dancing to firewalking?
That's something that I had experienced kind of separate. It was something that I did at a personal development training course when I was younger, in my teens. I think I was either 16 or 17. And I got to experience that for the first time that young, and to be able to walk across hot coals and kind of keep my focus and like not get burned, and kind of have figure out how to step into that type of mindset. I think has gone a really long ways for me my entire life, along with a lot of the other things that I've done that have turned me into who I am today. My time in the military, my time as an entrepreneur and a business owner, and all of it kind of mixed up and combined. It complements everything that goes into walking on fire. It's discipline, it's mindset, it's focus, it's um, kind of being in check with yourself. And I would say even when I'm not walking on fire, when I perform and I'm spinning fire, a lot of times I'll get down on my back and I'll set that fire on my feet and I hold it there, um, probably for a good sometimes 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it's the same kind of thing. I did one last Wednesday evening, actually. It's probably one of the longer ones that I did. And I just kind of felt myself go into the points on my feet where that fire was sitting and feel that pain out of me, if that makes sense. I don't know how to really describe that, but on the days where like my head game is off, that I've been burned. I get blisters. It's not something that is should be taken lightly, and it's not something people should just try on a whim.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but I love being able to kind of have that internal check with myself to see how I'm doing and where I'm at. And I think Topher might remember some of what I had said that night. I still want to go back and review some of the footage and kind of review what I said and what I shared with everybody. But one of the things that I remember is relating it to cold plunging, because cold plunging it's not pleasant. It doesn't feel nice. It's so cold that it hurts, and your body is registering pain, and that extreme cold is something that we can overcome. It's something that we can train ourselves to be able to get past or to get through. But then taking it back to the firewalk, it's exactly the same thing. And that night with Topher at Hidden Oasis, we only had one burn from all, I don't know how many people, 70 people. Well, the next day I woke up, I was like, wow, 70 people really followed me across hot coals.
Wow.
Okay. And so it's just kind of those really cool, like, kind of aha moments that I have every once in a while. But yeah, from all of those people that walked, there was only one burn. And one of the things that I said is don't freak out. If you freak out, that's when you're going to get burned. That's where mistakes are made. If you freak out, you can get those hot coals stuck between your toes,
Woof.
um, or putting a lot of pressure onto like the inside part of your foot where it's really soft there. Applying that much pressure, you can get some burns. But yeah, we had one girl. She took one step and just kind of kind of spazzed out, and her burn wasn't bad. It was very mild by the end of the next day. We took care of it that night. Um, but it was something that's a hard look to take a look at herself to see where is she at mentally, where is she at emotionally, and what is it going to take for her to get grounded enough to even ever attempt that again for the rest
Mm-hmm.
of her life, to take that one step,
Mm-hmm.
especially because of that experience now. So I'd love to hear if she ever has that opportunity again, or if I can provide that opportunity to her. I would gladly do that.
So I've never been to firewalking. I've never seen firewalking in person. Is it like a kind of a dance? I guess without getting too crazy and weird about it, I kind of wonder what are the nuances of it? What instructions do you give, I guess?
Well, I wouldn't want the fire walk where we were walking on hot coals to ever be mistaken with the Samoan style dance where they have a tea leaf skirt and they're kind of dancing and hopping over top of the fire. Like that is an actual cultural dance from Samoa. But fire walking, when we're walking on fire, we burn a big bonfire, and we can get into a lot of the symbolism of what that fire means. And when we opened up kind of that, I didn't even really fully intend for it to be a ceremony, because I just wasn't thinking about that, but it kind of ended up being something like that. I had got a whole bunch of pieces of paper and a whole bunch of pens and pencils, and everyone wrote down an intention, either something that they wanted to let go of and toss into the fire and release that and let it go, or an intention that they are going to start working on something in the future. And they were
Mm-hmm.
able to write that either of those two things down and kind of take their time I mean, we had what 45 minutes to an hour for the fire to burn down, anyways. So they're able to take their time and to be able to step up to the fire and to be able to kind of have that their own personal moment. And then just kind of like the feel of creating more of a serious tone. Before we started that experience, there was a lot of chatter
Hmm.
um, just as the fire was being built. And I'm always kind of looking at as an entertainer. I guess I've learned to look at the energy of an entire audience or an entire crowd around me, or
Sure.
feel different pockets of energy coming off of an audience in different ways. But just to make a more serious tone, I put on just some really steady like meditation music and turned it up pretty loud, and that instantly hushed everybody, and the tone got a lot more serious and prepped, and they took their conversations down to a whisper while everybody was getting ready to begin. So that was really really nice. But then getting into it, just some of the instructions that I give them is about how to walk. I always demo it at first. I don't think there's as many people that would really walk if they didn't get the chance to see somebody do it first.
Sure.
So I usually take that opportunity and do that, but I always instruct them to place their feet and walk slow and steady. And that blows people's mind. It's really hard to focus on slow and steady when you're stepping onto something that's hot and
Yeah.
you're supposed to get off or like don't touch the hot stove. Okay, mom, I won't.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, slow and steady wins the race, and not to freak out. The ones that freak out are the ones that will get burned, and then to keep their intentions in their mind and to hold on to that. That should be one of the things that helps them get grounded more,
Hmm. Hmm.
is if they're holding on to that. Like, keep your commitment to yourself, keep your word to yourself, follow through with this commitment, and show yourself you can do this, because you can. What else do I tell them? I should tell them about when they step off, because I'm usually on the other side,
Hmm.
kind of the receiving side of the fire, to lend a hand. We usually have spotters on both sides just to make sure we don't have any jumpers or anyone freaking out and or slipping and falling into the fire. So we don't want anyone to get really hurt. But then I'm checking their feet when they come off. They step off onto a wet towel. And able to see kind of what's going on the bottom of their foot and make sure that they're all good. And halfway through all the people that were going, I think I got up to talk to somebody. Somebody took my place, and that was the first time I was able to kind of take a step back and watch the whole process without me necessarily being in it, and seeing the two guys that were on the end kind of receiving everybody, taking care of everybody, and making sure everybody was good and all the support. I was able to step out of like this micro perspective into this
Hmm.
macro perspective, and hearing some of the chatter around me and some of what the commentary was that was happening through the crowd. That was really impactful for me this time.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure.
so that was and it was a good group. It was a good spot to do it. I've been involved with Hidden Oasis almost right from the beginning of them creating that experience out there, and I've had to take baby steps away from Hidden Oasis and put my focus into a lot of what we're doing with our move from Utah to Phoenix and what we're building up here. But I really wanted to go back and support for that whole experience to be able to happen, and I'm glad that I did.
How many steps is it on the coals themselves usually?
I think that one was 3 or 4.
Okay.
But my first time, it was like a 20-foot walk.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so I don't know how many, maybe I took 6, 7, 8 steps. And I had a kind of somebody, that was my first time doing it too. This one, I kind of took it easy on everybody and made it smaller.
Who taught you how to? Who taught you your connection to fire?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if the connection to fire was taught. I know that the skill that I was learning was taught, and his name was Keola, and he was um, hired by my family to teach me. Um, and I would love to be able to find him. I honestly can't remember his last name or how to even get a hold of him. But if he were to see what I'm doing now, It would be cool to see. I love seeing those situations with students that I've taught that are just kind of exploding and like coming out into a whole lot more than either of us would have expected. It's probably why teachers love doing what they do the most.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as like where did that connection come from? Like I think it just came from inside of me. Like it's something that it's either there or it's not. And I've worked with many newbies, and some of my really good friends have come through, and they're like, "Oh, I want to try that." Or a lot of times at a show, I'll grab an audience member up and kind of let them try holding it and playing with the fire a little bit. And sometimes I just see like no expression, like no, there's no connection to it at all, and they're just going through the motions, and they're like, okay, that was cool. But then other times it's just this like, I don't know, like this aha moment and the spark, and once they catch that spark, you can't ever let it go. One of my good friends, he goes by Lion Gypsy now, or Tabio. Kind of helped him come up through some of his fire spinning and trained him for a year before he would go and do his first show. And I kind of had to trick him into his first show. That whole story was funny, but I took him to an out-of-state show. Told him I needed a driving buddy, but really we needed another performer, and it wasn't even me running that show; it was somebody else. But yeah, we kind of coordinated this whole thing so he would at least take the chance and get on stage and go. But when he came barreling off the stage, he didn't even put the fire out. He just gave me this big bear hug, and he's like, "Bro, I get it now. I get it." It's fun to be able to see when that happens, and I can't figure out when that was for me. I mean, probably when I was younger, because when I was 12, 13, and 14, and I was doing it with just the blade and no fire, my mom didn't want me to spin with fire until I was 16.
Mm,
I think I ended up doing it when I was 15. But yeah, it's just to me when I was younger, it was like this dreaded having to practice every single day kind of thing. Like
right.
mom forces the little kids to play the piano every single day because they need to practice or they won't get better. And so I think I griped through it for a while until I was 15 and I started to spin it with fire, and it really became being able to not only get better and improve my skill, but to be able to have that fire with me. Like I don't know what my life would be like without fire in it. I can't remember what my life was like during my military days without being able to perform and spin and have that fire with me. It's like I got away from it, but I definitely came back, found my way back to it.
I've actually had that experience that you're talking about. I have a daughter that spins fire. And although I can appreciate fire and I love like bonfires and I very much love like watching a fire conclave perform, I've tried playing with fire once and it was definitely a big nope for me. So
Yep. It's either a hell yes or a hell no.
yeah, yeah, totally. So I get exactly what you're saying from kind of both angles. Obviously, not exactly your angle because I never did love it, but I did get to watch my daughter absolutely fall in love with it. So,
Yeah. I think another reason why I have fallen in love with it so much, and it's not just the fire, it's like it's the flow state.
hmm
And that term gets thrown around a lot. Like I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but I think it was probably for as long as I've been doing this, I think I only started to really like deep dive into what that flow state is like 4 or 5 years ago. Like
okay,
that's out of 26 years, 4 or 5 years ago is kind of when, or maybe I had been tapping into that flow state for a long time without fully being aware of what it was, and to be able to just kind of step into it intentionally. But that flow state is just, it's honestly the best high that anybody could ever have in their entire life, the best natural high. And I can see it a lot of times. Like when we're performing, we are kind of projecting into the audience, and we are performing to the audience. I see people; they'll just kind of slip into the flow state, and like their face will just be emotionless. Like there's no movement, there's no nothing, and they kind of just like go in the zone. I've said that many times. Like tapping into the flow state is like getting into the zone,
Mhm.
and that's that's the more that I can play in that state, whether I'm spinning fire or walking on fire or working on a day-to-day basis. If I can be tapped into that flow state, everything that I do ends up being 10 times better than if I'm what just going through the motions.
Well, I've performed in front of what 80,000 people, and I forget the audience is there. I'm all like when the fire lights up and it just surrounds me. I mean, all you hear is the roar of the fire. You don't hear the
Hmm.
audience cheering for you. You just hear, and the
Yeah.
connection you have with the fire is just amazing. And it's just, yeah, it's, and I get what you're talking about. That when you get into that moment, you forget about you, or you forget about everything around you except for you and the fire, and then
Hmm.
then the world just melts away, and it's just epic. There's no
Yep.
way, no other way to explain it. It's just something you have to experience.
Yep. That's exactly right.
So, maybe a weird question, but what, if anything, would you say is mystical about fire walking?
I think it's just the whole mind over matter, or it's kind of that mind blowing. Like, are they really actually going to walk on fire?
Mhm.
So I think it's really comes down to demystifying this belief that um, if you touch fire, you're going to get burned. Obviously, fire is it can create a lot of harm. It can do a lot of damage. Um, but knowing our limits and being able to push our limits and to be able to kind of have that step into that mind over matter experience with yourself and the elements, whatever element it is. It doesn't have to be fire. But I would say another thing that's mystical is kind of like energy. A lot of people look at energy as this intangible thing, and some people can't really wrap their head around it. For me, I was like that for many years of my life until I was able to really experience what it feels like to move it, to interact with it, to be able to play with it in different ways. And the same thing kind of goes into that when you go into the pain of what you're experiencing on your feet to release it, you're pushing that, letting it out of you. And so I would say that that type of practice could be a mystical thing.
Another question. I'm going to ask this just because I'm a nurse. Have you ever had a conversation with a medical professional that works in an emergency room or in a burn unit who has tried to, like, and I'm not saying this, I'm just asking the question, who's tried to dissuade you from doing fire walking, who's tried to talk you out of it with medical jargon or statistics or anything like that?
Yeah, and I've been that person in the emergency room with my blisters being treated, and they're like, "You still gonna keep doing this?" And I say, "Yes, I am. I'm not gonna stop." So, but that's not even. I don't even think I've had any injuries or any burns from firewalking before. With all the times that I've done it, it's just been from performing or spinning fire, and they're like, "How did this happen?" Nothing less
Yeah,
than entertaining.
yeah,
And it's usually always it's not even the fire that burns you. It's the metal screw that's inside your fire prop that
Hmm.
heats up and hits you.
Yep.
Like I've had my arm on fire for like 5 seconds, and just not a big deal. But man, you touch me with a screw, I'm I'm hurting.
yeah. Do you spin things other than your knife with fire?
Yeah, that's my main. So the Simone fire knife and then short staff.
Okay.
I usually do that just because my short staff weighs quite a bit less than my fire knife, and so the amount of shows that I'm doing, I need to take care of the health of my arms.
Sure.
But then I spin fire poi. I have more of a traditional Maori, New Zealand style poi spinning, and then we play with big fire swords. Some of those fire swords are hollow, and we can put powder in them. They turn into exploding lycopodium props.
Cool.
I know those are fun. If you haven't seen the Guardians on our website, you should go check it out. we brought in one of our guys from Vegas that just was doing barrel rolls with full flames all the way around him. And
What is your website?
HanaEntertainment.com. That's HANA entertainment.com.
Oh, we'll
So
check it
yeah, the
out.
Guardians is the first video up on there, and that was a really fun one. But yeah, we play with Lyco props, fire bubbles. So we're creating more interactive experiences now, and more fully like immersive experiences that kind of play on all the senses instead of providing only the entertainment, which is usually sight and sound mostly. Um, so finding really creative and unique ways to get the audience involved is one of my favorite things to do.
We performed up the Ice Castle up
Okay.
in Midway a bunch of years. The funny thing about the audiences, and I love the audiences for this, was I mean, you understand performance. I mean, you could spend 6 months learning the matrix on a staff, and you're like, wow, man, that took me forever. And the audience is like, yeah, that was cool. And then
Mhm.
you roll a dragon staff down your back, which takes you 5 minutes to learn. The audience is just freaking out. You're like, oh man, that's what I'm all like, just simplicity.
Yes. And that's really what I've focused on in the last probably 10 years. Is just simple, clean, fast. And there's a lot of people that try to do all this extravagant stuff, and they're kind of fumbling and dropping it everywhere. And I'm not going to perform and do anything that is going to take away from just the simplicity, the minimalist movements, and just being really fast and controlled.
So you said you're moving from Utah to Arizona, or you have moved. I'm not sure which it is, but
Hmm.
are you starting to offer things in Arizona like entertainment or firewalking or?
I mean, we really haven't skipped a beat since we moved out here. We moved the beginning of November. I think in the first 2 weeks that we were out here, I think we did 12 shows. Whether it's just me and my partner Rose that it's going out, or if it's bigger stuff. New Year's Eve, we had 4 shows in the same evening.
Wow.
And we were in Utah. We're performing for country clubs there and 2 or 3 other things, along with Christmas and family and the holidays. And then we flew back on New Year's Eve in the morning and just went hard all the way into the end of the year.
Wow.
Oh, and we're driving all over Phoenix, and it's all new for us, but wherever the maps takes us, that's where we go. So we had one that started at 4:30, and then we had another one at 10, and then another one right at midnight, and we were just booking it from show to show. And then we ended up in this just really big house in North Scottsdale on New Year's Eve. I haven't seen anything like it before, and I wouldn't even say it was a mansion. It was like a palace. And the theme was Year of the Dragon, and we created this custom 30-minute fire experience for all of them, and it really hit the mark. And then, not even last Wednesday, we did another one for this luxury showroom. We had fire inside of the showroom. The chandeliers were about a foot above my head, and they were covering the whole
Wow.
ceiling. Me and my partner Rose, we did acro fire, where we combine acrobatics and fire. We did that up on top of one of the countertops and it was just the center island. And we did acrobatics up there combined with an electric harpist and some other fire dancers that are becoming really good friends out here in Phoenix. And we're collaborating with breakdancers and sets, and we body taped an entire model that turned into a fire belly dancer with us at the end of the night.
Wow.
It was just the most elaborate, extravagant thing that we've done, I think, since we've been out here. And I know it hit home, and I know the work that we're doing here is so solid. And we're just having a blast creating stuff and being artistic and collaborating with as many of the other talented artists in this area as we can. And it's becoming contagious. Like it's this avalanche that's picking up. We were talking to one of the DJs a couple of nights ago, one of the bigger DJs in the area, and I said something about coming to Phoenix, and he's like, "Bro, you coming to Phoenix? No, you stormed into Phoenix." And I was like, "Yeah, it's time. Like it's going, and we got to just keep pushing for bigger and bigger stuff, and then spreading out all over the country, all over the world."
Do you
So
have an element of mentoring? Do you have an element of mentoring or anything like that in your performances? Or are they strictly performances?
that I mentor others.
Yeah. When you're performing, is there more to it than just entertainment? Is there some sort of like Is there a message? Is there something you want to convey other than just entertainment?
It kind of depends on what it is, because we do a lot of different things. Like we are experienced creators in a way. We're like really awesome event planners. Depending on what it is, the firewalk, there was definitely a message in that one. If it's another performance for, like we were just talking about the Guardians earlier, that's on the website. That was a custom storyline and custom production that was made for a religious organization out in Colorado Springs, and kind of having a background of that and really knowing my audience, we created a whole story about how this violinist that got flown in from Florida. Her name is Karina, and she was the light. And then our stunt guy stayed from Las Vegas. He was the darkness, and it was this 45-minute battle between the two of them. And Karina was using her fire guardians in this battle against the darkness. And at the end, the darkness converts to one of her fire guardians and her protectors, and has his arm around her, escorting her on stage. It was a very, very short but impactful production for them, and it hit the spot. It hit the spot for us delivering it, and for them, and it was such a good experience. So different kinds of impact for different kinds of situations. If we're going into a wedding, if we're going into a funeral, if we're going into a luxury event, a backyard party that they want it just to be amazing. Like we can do all kinds of stuff like that, and I usually try to infuse some type of message into our shows. And we've got some things up our sleeves that we're cooking up for April out here. We're going to be hosting a really large, family-friendly, kid-friendly production out here, and we're looking for a venue that will hold somewhere around 500 to 600 people.
Mhm.
And we want to host the same thing twice in one night.
Oh,
But
Wow.
that one's, yeah, that one's gonna have a really amazing message. We're gonna be teaching emotional intelligence on that level, getting down on the kids level, just while still be wildly entertaining and engaging with the adults. And we're going to be pumping three core values into that experience, and two of them are going to be Burning Man tenets: radical self-reliance and is it radical acceptance? No,
Mhm.
authenticity. Reliance
Okay.
and authenticity. Those are the two things, and then the third one we're still kind of working out, but it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of this without my partner Rose. Like she's writing that entire storyline, and I love to write out stories and create productions in the way that I see them. But to be able to take a step back and watch her creativity just flow, and to be able to step in and to be able to help execute and do all the implementation and make this thing come to life, it's just as rewarding for me to do that too.
so I have a question. When you get ready to do this interaction with fire, because that's really what it is. You're interacting with the element of fire, and do you do a ceremony to, like a self reflection of what you're about to do before you do it?
Yeah, especially with the firewalk, that one, for me, I feel like it takes me 2 or 3 days of mental prep time for that one. It's not something that I do very frequently, and so every time it's like, I mean, it's kind of intimidating, but it also feels like the first few times that I ever had to pick up a microphone in front of an audience and speak. um, but the more that I did that, the easier it got, and now it's no big deal. Hand me a microphone and let's go.
Mhm.
But with something like the firewalk, that's something that shouldn't ever be taken lightly, not by me and not by anyone there. And so that prep work that I do is usually like a lot of introspection. I'll probably write a lot more around those times, and kind of get into, like, on the same day, the day of, kind of have like my own meditation and be able to do everything that I can to get grounded. It's even down to like the music that I'm listening to. I seem to always be listening to music at all times. That's just a huge part of my life, but I don't want to be having this kind of like ramped up, like high energy type of music leading up to the firewalk. I want to be able to keep my nervous system kind of like grounded like the entire time, and that's kind of how I get my head into the mode of, hey, we're about to go walk on fire tonight.
Luckily, we were able to have equipment on you, and we watched your heartbeat just shoot through the roof right before you jumped on, and then your brain, the intensity of your brain, like lit up. It was actually pretty cool to watch. It was,
Yeah.
it went all red right before, and then right when you hit it, you calmed down. Like right after you walked across it, you calmed down, and everything went
Yep.
back to normal.
Boom, back to normal.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch.
I want to see that. Did you send that to me in the files that you sent me?
Not that one.
See that.
That one I had to go through and figure it out and time it out to match it to where you were
Yeah.
because they were two separate things.
Okay. Is it going to be in the final
Yeah,
edit?
yeah, that'll be there. And
For
then-
sure. That's
yeah,
what we do.
That's what we do. Is we want to.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, the people kept getting in the way for the thermal camera, so we're actually practicing or doing other stuff for that one.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really cool. Like Kenneth showed it to me, and he had his heart monitor going, and it was pretty neat.
Wild. It's really cool to think about how it was so pocketed. You know, it was that moment that you were walking on the fire, that it was like your brain and your heart were in deep conversation real fast, and then as soon as you got over it, you know, past it, then you just were like whoop, down. It was all was well.
Yeah,
And I know that like that split second moment when it's right before you're gonna put your foot on that first step with the hot coals. It feels like if you've ever gone cliff jumping, like 20, 30-foot cliff, and you're just jumping into water, but
That
that's a
hurts.
long ways down, and so that the decision and full body, everything that has to go into making that decision and owning it, it's the real adrenaline rush right there.
And you'll see it when you watch it because it like timed perfectly. Like right when your foot was about that far from the thing, you just spiked up. And we're like, wow, that was cool. That was
That's awesome.
so.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Well, yeah. Wish we had better lighting on it, but at least we got the
Yeah.
key points.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. But it was cool to get that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait. And you sent me that footage, and I want to make even just a basic looping thing for like the background on our website. I just haven't done it yet. But I'd like to start talking about this more. So I'm happy that this all happened, and it's been getting me to think about it a lot more and get a lot more serious about adding this to what we do. It was just yesterday, actually. Even the forums on our website were just adding the firewalk to it. So
Well, if you wanted
um,
to, like we could do it like in my backyard or somewhere. We could actually because there was so much chaos with so many people. It
yeah,
was so hard to get all the right angles. But I would love to redo it, or even
okay,
more controlled environment where I can get a thermal camera on your feet and get all this stuff going, and so we can actually really dig deep into what's going on in your brain, because we're doing it tonight with me and a couple of other people just to get
you're
see
doing it
what's going
tonight.
on. Yeah, I'm gonna do it tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We've been waiting for it to stop snowing. It's been snowing so
Oh
much that
yeah,
I can't get the water or the wood to burn, and I didn't want to get because my backyard's full of. I don't know if you knew this about me, but I build really giant objects to burn every year, and so my backyard's full of nails
Wood.
and wood. And so I've been going through it all, trying to find wood that didn't have nails in it, so I didn't
yeah.
step on it. And
That
then we
would
had to,
not be good for firewalking.
yeah. So then we're probably raking out all these screws. We're like, oh, that
Yep.
would hurt. But yeah, so we're gonna check it out, and we're learning the science behind firewalking right now, and we're filming it.
Nice.
So
Yeah, the science that I had learned about it is that technically your feet perspire quicker than it's actually burning.
it's
So
really cool.
that's kind of the extent of what I know about the scientific stuff, though. So if you want to share any of that with me, I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so far we've learned the coals actually create a boundary around them when they cool down, and so the thermal the transfer rate of the heat is a
Mhm.
little slower with the coals. Like if you did it on metal, you'd be instantly turned into
Yeah.
a bacon. But and it's really cool because and then different types of woods are differently, and then so it's been a fun experience that we've been playing with.
That's
but we're
cool.
just waiting for it to stop snowing.
I keep forgetting it's snowing over there because it's not doing that here.
I'm sure.
Well, this week I'm saying the same way because it's almost 50 degrees. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
think
yeah,
it was 75 yesterday, and
Wow.
everyone out here is in hoodies or coats and sweat, and
I
I'm like walking around in flip flops and shorts.
I used to go to California for work a lot, to Long Beach, and I'd go in like October, or even not August, yeah, October, and everybody'd be in their puffy coats and Uggs, and I'd be in a tank top and shorts,
Hmm.
being like, "This is great weather."
Yeah, and it's clear and it's blue and there's palm
Uh-huh.
trees. It's so I'm hooked.
so I'm excited for this next year, see where we're all going. I'm excited to see because I watch you guys' stuff and I see your clips and I'm just blown away with half the stuff you guys keep doing and the
Oh
direction
yeah,
you're going, like where you guys were a year ago to where you are now is a huge stepping stone, and that means the next year the stepping stone you're going to go is going to be even
yeah,
bigger, and
yeah.
it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's been fun, and just being able to be really intentional with like the direction that we want to go and be really clear about this is exactly what Hana Entertainment is, and this is the value that we bring, and we do such a good job of it that we can go into any situation at any time. And like, I don't even have a whole lot of like anxiety or stress come up before shows anymore or before hosting. There's a lot of stress because there's a lot of moving parts when we're hosting something bigger. But going into any situation, it's like, yeah, we can handle this, and we are on it from every angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you respect the fire. I mean, in the
Hmm.
end, because for me, fire is like it's a personal part of my world. Like I spin fire, I breathe fire, I like handles, I like um, I I've watched too many fire performers take advantage of the amazement of what fire is, and as long as you respect fire, and I see you respecting fire, the way that you handled your. When I went out to film you, I had the worst anxiety because I was so worried that you were going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is fire, blah blah blah. I control it and stuff." No, you respect it because you know fire. You can't control fire.
It's
You got
true.
to respect it,
You have
and
you have to
you.
work with it. You're not the boss.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I see that too much with other fire performers, and so I had a lot of anxiety. But then when I watched you guys, I was like, oh, yay, this is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how it turned out that night. That was probably a night that none of them will ever forget. Plus, we all got to keep a little hot coal. I have all mine right here.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow, oh that's cool. We filmed the one girl. She was walking across, and you could see the coal got caught in her toes, and it flicked.
Hmm.
And we're like, ooh, that it's gotta hurt.
Yep. I think she's the one that got burned.
Yeah,
So she was all good though. I talked to her for a couple of days after to make sure she was taking care of it, and she was totally good.
yeah. Wish we had a thermal camera on that one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I think one of them got flicked and hit me and landed in my lap.
Oh, wow.
I was in the splash zone. People coming off the hot coals.
So here's a question: when you were getting ready for it, I noticed you were wearing leggings. Were those leggings? They weren't fire safe, were they?
They're
Because
cotton. I
oh, they
mean,
were cotton. Okay.
yeah, those ones are mostly cotton. I've got some that are more like nylon and spandex, and kind of depends on what it is that I'm doing. But yeah, fire safety is extremely important, and wearing fire safe clothes is also extremely important. There's also ways to fireproof clothing or cloth with fire retardant spray. But yeah, those ones I wasn't worried about those ones that night. I wear those quite a bit when I spin, and I've hit a fireball against those before, and there's a little flame that kind of sticks with from the fuel, but when I wipe it off, it goes away pretty quick. So there's some other ones that I had to retire because if the flame even gets close, it melts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
polyester.
Yep.
Do you have any Kevlar clothing?
Nope. Nope. I don't plan on having any Kevlar clothing either.
So if somebody wants to book something with you, would they go to your website or is there
Yeah.
another way to reach you? Okay.
Yeah, and our phone number and everything, email, it's all on the website. People tag me on Facebook when people put up requests, and I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, like 20 different ways online.
Cool. And again, that website is hanaentertainment.com, correct?
Hana with one N, HANA, entertainment.com.
Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us or any other stories you'd like to tell us?
Not that I could think of right now.
Okay.
We got into quite a bit of it.
We did. I'm glad. It was a robust conversation, I think.
Yeah, that was good. It's been great. Well, I appreciate it. This whole experience with you guys has been absolutely amazing. I love watching what you guys are doing and watching how it's growing and the amount of
Yes,
effort and detail that you're putting into what you do. Like it shows. And so
as
anything that I can do to support, I will.
yeah,
Thank you.
as we get more better equipment, I would love to revisit the fire walking,
Hmm.
because yeah, that's just that's really amazing to watch when somebody connects with fire that's able to do it.
Yes.
And so I would love to bring you back on and like revisit the fire, do a whole episode on just fire.
Yeah.
That would be epic. I would really enjoy that.
Think it's going to be next September. It's very tentative though, and everything in my life is very tentative, going back and forth from Arizona and Utah right now. But we were looking at Maple Dell. Was it Maple Dell or Maple Grove? They
Well,
have like some hot springs.
Maple, well, that's Maple Grove up in
That's Maple
Idaho.
Grove.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Not Maple Dell. Maple Grove. But we want to host a relationship retreat up there with a few different elements, and kind of like take over their entire resort. And I already talked to them about doing the firewalk in their parking lot, and they said, yeah, if it's in the parking lot and there's nothing overhead, then you should be good. So I know for sure we're gonna have at least a couple of different firewalking experiences in Utah this year. You know, it's around summertime. I'll be back in Utah more in like June, July, and August. Maybe a little bit in May. I'm trying to figure out those dates and what's going to be happening here versus what's going to be happening in there, and just kind of go where I'm needed the most.
Yeah, it might not even be for a year or two. Just so as we're growing, we're getting better techniques,
Yeah.
and so it's fun. But
It
yeah,
is
let us
fun.
know, and I'm
Okay.
excited to come watch you and support you as much as we can.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, I definitely will. I'm a whole lot better now at staying on top of where I'm going to be online for people so they can come if they want to and giving enough notice. But yeah, everything that we do out here, the big kid-friendly show we're going to do out here, we're going to be advertising that a lot. And then going back to Utah, we'll be hosting possibly two more shows in the summertime, one toward the beginning and one towards the end. The one towards the end is probably going to be the Haunted Circus again because that did so well this last year. We want to bring that back again.
Well, we appreciate your time and we appreciate the conversation.
Of
And
course.
for our listeners, we want to remind you to listen, like, subscribe, and share. Find us at mysticdetectives.com. You can contact us there to share stories, to fill out a request to be interviewed on our podcast, or to be in a video episode. And until then, we invite you to stay curious and keep exploring.